group of pro-Palestinian protesters caught the attention of Vice President Kamala Harris during her rally in Arizona on Friday. She took a moment to directly address the protesters, saying she respects their voices and also calls for a ceasefire in Gaza. Take a listen to what she said at the rally.
We're here to fight for our democracy. Which includes respecting the voices that I think that we are hearing from. And let me just say this on topic of what I think I'm hearing over there. Let me just speak to that for a moment, and then I'm going to get back to the business at hand. So let me say, I have been clear. Now is the time to get a ceasefire deal and get the hostage deal done. Now is the time. And the president and I are working around the clock every day to get that ceasefire deal done and bring the hostages home.
For more on this news coming out of the United States, I'm joined by Joel Rubin, a Democratic strategist and former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State in the Obama administration. Joel, thanks so much for joining us this evening.
It's great to be with you, Nicole.
Now, we're hearing right now it is crunch time for a deal. That is something that we heard from Vice President Kamala Harris. The U.S., along with the other key mediators, they're trying to push for this August 15th deadline. But I'm curious exactly what this means. If Harris and Biden continue to work on this, the reason they're pushing for it, what exactly would it entail for not only Biden's legacy, but then Harris as well going into her presidential candidacy?
Yeah, I mean, the ceasefire that the president has been talking about for some time and that our negotiators have been working with our allies in Qatar and Egypt on, and these discussions have been ongoing now for months. This is something that needs to be a priority. The hostages need to come home, and this will be the vehicle for that. And so we saw just a couple of days ago a statement coming out from the president and Qatar and Egypt as well to hold a summit inviting Israel and Hamas. And the Israeli government said, and Bibi Netanyahu said he would send a delegation. So that's a good sign. There really needs to be a way to get the hostages home, and this is the best way to do it.
Meanwhile, Joel, also the United States, they're clearly very focused on protecting Israel, the Middle East region. But what about their own troops as well in the region? We've seen multiple attacks this week on U.S. troops in northeastern Syria. They were attacked by a drone. Earlier in the week, 5 Americans were injured in western Iraq. So these Iranian-backed militias, they continue to go after U.S. forces. So should the United States be having a stronger response and stronger statements towards that, their own forces in the area?
Yeah, no, you're right. Look, these cheap shots being taken by Iran and its proxies are unacceptable. Troops were shot at as well in Iraq. The Iraqi government is a partner of the United States, and the United States, the Biden team made it very clear that this is unacceptable. And concurrent to that, we have sent warships, additional warships to the region to let Iran know that it cannot and should not attack Israel in response to the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh. I think the president and his team, they're watching this very closely. They have not been shy about attacking Houthi militias and other entities that come after American troops. I think they're making the message very clear to this new Iranian government. Again, it just came in very recently that it should not provoke the United States. And I think we're seeing a strong message being sent about that. We'll see if that works. But at this stage, that's the primary mode. To let the Iranian government, this new one, understand they cannot and should not take shots at American troops and forces in the region.
Certainly seems to be one of the strategies they're playing with. Meanwhile, Joel, stay with us, but there's some other news coming out of the United States as well, because after a months-long investigation into the Israeli Netzah Yehuda Battalion, which is an ultra-Orthodox unit accused of human rights violations against Palestinians in the West Bank, the unit is now off the hook, according to the United States. After reviewing new information provided by Israel, the State Department said the alleged human rights violations are, quote, effectively remediated. And U.S. State Department spokesman Matthew Miller said that means the Netzah Yehuda Battalion can continue to receive U.S. funding and security assistance. So, Joel, U.S. will not be imposing sanctions on the unit, and I'm curious exactly what this says about the United States' policy towards Israel. As of right now, it would have been pretty controversial if they had moved and imposed sanctions on this battalion. So where does the U.S. stand then?
Yeah, absolutely, Nicole. And the legislation that governs this question is what's known as the Leahy Law. I worked on that when I served at the State Department, and the Leahy Law is a law that enables the U.S. government to sanction specific units that are accused of human rights violations. But there's also a process to ensure that whatever concerns there were are remediated. And this means that the concerns were remediated. There were serious concerns. The Israeli government took this unit away from the West Bank in 2022 because of these human rights violation concerns. But since that time, has fixed it. And I think that's a very positive signal that American pressure and coordination with the Israeli government to avoid human rights violations can be made and can be satisfied, and change can be made. It's important that our military, the U.S. military, and of course the Israeli military does not engage in this kind of behavior. This is what Hamas does, what Hezbollah does. They violate human rights. And so it's crucial that the IDF cleaned up its act in this case, and it clearly did. And that's a good outcome.
That certainly provides some interesting input into that. Joel Rubin, thank you for your analysis on everything that's happening with the U.S. and Israel right now.
My pleasure.